The Olympics has become, for me, more of a carnival than a sporting event. The athletes are professionals, product placement is paramount, and many of the events are so bizarre that they belong on that part of the midway known as the freak show. So, not surprisingly, this year I passed, mostly, on the Olympics. I think the biggest news that came out of it was that an announcer had pink eye. That went viral, which I think might be a pun, and I'm okay with having missed out on that. I filled up the time I would have been viewing the contestants by doing other things. One night I watched a movie. It was an old one, Dinner@8. It was written as a play, first produced in 1932 by George S. Kaufman and Edna Ferber. A year later it was made into a movie with a big all-star cast that included 2 Barrymores and Jean Harlow in a role and a room and a dress that made her famous, or more famous. The movie was especially interesting to me in that it combined comedy and tragedy. I didn't think that could be done, not successfully, and I'm still not sure it can be done successfully after having seen it done in this movie. I'm aware, let me say, that life does this all the time, mixing the two in all sorts of proportions. The play or movie is classified as a comedy of manners, meaning, I think, that it is a social satire. It rips into pretentious people and vain people and people who weep over spilled aspic and people who have loads of money but no class. It reminds me of a Chekhov play like The Cherry Orchard, in which one class has grown old and infirm and a new class has risen to take its place, having none of the social graces or lineage, but all of the money. Everyone is displaced. No one quite knows what to do, how to behave, certainly not the poor old busted aristocrats, nor the nouveau hayseed millionaires. Much of this is treated like so much whipped cream in the movie. Lionel Barrymore plays a shipping magnate who is learning that his fleet and fortune have all sailed. His health is gone too. His heart is giving out. He's the most decent character in the story, and when his fidgety wife learns about his fatal condition, after weeping even more profusely than she did over the aspic, she vows to live more frugally, to cut back on beauty appointments, lavish parties and vacations. I wonder how that kind of folly played in 1933 when people were eating dust. There's a doctor in the story, an excellent doctor, but a lousy, faithless husband. There's a set piece in which he's confronted by his wife, who knows all, has for years, and still says she loves him. The invitees to the dinner, that fabulous occasion, which is about to commence as the story ends, include a very wealthy British couple, who in fact are the source of the dinner, and they cancel out at the last moment, wouldn't you know, gone to Florida, won't show up. Another invitee with a strange and shattering story is John Barrymore, playing ostensibly and rather fantastically, almost ghoulishly, himself, as a washed-up silent screen star with nothing left but his famous profile, an unrelenting need to drink, a trail of 3 wives, and a 19-year-old society girl who is convinced she's in love with him. By the way, apropos of nothing, a vast number of cigarettes are smoked by all of the characters in this movie. Lighting up is an extremely chic habit. The day turns out to be the one in which the actor hits rock bottom. He's insulted and dismissed by a bellhop, evicted by the hotel, and his agent, stung by the actor's angry, drunken outburst before a producer, gives up on him and tells him the truth, that his career is over. He's dead in the movies, dead in the theater, and dead on radio, too. Look in the mirror if you think I'm lying, the agent says, as he leaves. The actor does, and promptly takes his life by turning on the gas after tearing up a picture of the only woman he ever really loved, blocking up the doors, and adjusting a floor lamp so he will be found dead, but looking well. It's as staggering and ghastly a scene as the end of Sunset Boulevard. Does that fit in with the rest of the story? Does it even belong in the story? Does his life amount to just more spilled aspic? The young lady who thought she loved him is the daughter of the shipping owner and the woman throwing the party. She has a young man courting her who has everything in the world going for him except her love. I mention Chekhov because the story reminds me of his work, including the suicide, and also because there was some confusion about Chekhov in how to produce his plays. Were they comedies or tragedies? Were we supposed to be laughing uproariously at these people, or, in sympathy, feeling pity for them? It wasn't clear then, isn't now, and could be played both ways. The actor in the play doesn't botch his suicide, as you think he might. He does kill himself, and the shipping magnate is on the verge of death and financial ruin. The young girl learns the actor is dead, and she does not love the young man who is so devoted to her. One key scene between Jean Harlow and her crude, power-mad husband walks the line of violent physical confrontation. How funny is all of that? Having been announced, the dinner must go on. As a favor, a couple fills in for the absent English nobility. It's an older married couple. The man has lost interest in his wife and only thinks about going to the movies. His wife says, "I'm a Garbo widow." He attends the dinner with great reluctance. Their marriage continues, an empty shell. The story is loaded with empty shells. The dinner itself is an empty shell, its very reason for being having left for Florida. What's left are empty people, empty relationships, empty bank accounts, empty lives. People going through the motions hoping maybe they can get away with it, but they don't. Everyone knows, and that knowledge is power. The cherry on top comes at the end, as the people are preparing to enter the salon for dinner. "I have read a book," Jean Harlow says, an astonishing revelation. "It's about the future," she says, and how all of the professions will be replaced by machines. Her companion, a former movie star now faded into a wily matron of some means, eyes her up and down and blithely says, "My dear, you have no need to worry about that." That's Dinner at 8. Still puzzling to me what to make of it, but a much better choice, I think, than more luge, bobsled, and ice dancing.